dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And you're back on Liberty Nation Radio, head coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I remain Mark Angelides, and Scott Cosenza remains Scott Cosenza, and we are discussing the Office of Civil Rights within the Justice Department now taking up gun rights. Now, we discussed the legality and the process and the way that's built and through policy and personnel earlier in the show. And a great reader on this, by the way, is an article by Lisa K. Donner over on the pages of libertynation.com. Do please go and check that out. But Scott, I want to drill down into a couple of things. Well, two things really. Number one, when might the Civil Rights Office get involved? Like what kind of bar that is? And number two, what kind of pushback can it realistically expect? And I guess as a third question is, does this whole endeavor die with in 2020, January 19th, 2029, with the end of the Trump presidency? So let's start with where might the Office of Civil Rights get involved here? And one of the main things that just popped into my mind on this, one of the bit that's kind of been floating there are places in the country where it is automatically a gun-free zone unless the proprietor of a place puts up a sign saying guns welcome. Now, would that be somewhere where the office might examine?
All right, lots to unpack there. So
sure.
I've said it before many times to you on this program and elsewhere to others, and even to you elsewhere.
Yes, he is that guy at Thanksgiving. He is that guy.
The decision to prosecute is political.
Sure.
Any decision to prosecute is a political decision. So you've asked about the three questions that you initially asked me. The answer is all about the politics and of the person and personnel who are in control of that office. If they wish to be aggressively enforcing infringements on gun owners and the right to keep and bear arms and the right to self-defense, which is broader than that. And it's funny, guns are the things that are most often talked about, but there's quite a bit of fighting in the courts in this country about non-firearm self-defense issues, like literally pepper spray, for instance. Can a person carry that? There's many places where it's forbidden to them. As shocking as that may be for people who live in places where you can just constitutionally carry and where adults can put a gun on them, their hip and just walk around, which is increasing in this country. There are still many places where they're notoriously hostile to any self-defense rights. So
they're almost England. Yes, they're all.
It's like, who's in charge of that office? Is it some lobbyist who isn't terribly interested in moving the ball rather than they are like going along to get along, or is it a hard charger, litigant-minded person who sees maybe even time pressure with Trump's candidacy to really move that office ahead in the next couple of years? And, and that sort of brings me to the answer to your question about the kind of cases, and would we see, for instance, this sort of affirmative permission requirement. So if you can imagine somebody saying like they you can't walk around with a MAGA hat on and you walk into a store unless it says MAGA hats welcome sign on this store. That's the functional equivalent of this gun sign. And it's in these areas that are extra hostile to gun rights, namely New York. And yes, Mark, I certainly do hope that is the kind of case that the Office of Civil Rights will go after. It's one of those things where when you have an ocean of money to fight one of these cases, you're way better off than if you're super lean on the budget, which is how they're often fought, through donations and state gun rights groups that are doing the hard work of fighting the fight, but also challenged by resources. The federal government is challenged by many things, but they have that printing press on for any time they want more dollars. And so if they decide to fight a thing, they're not going to hurt for resources in that fight.
Yeah, I like that example you used about if someone were wearing a MAGA cap, that it's essentially the same as saying you can't come in this store if you're wearing a MAGA hat, or you have permission to wear a MAGA hat, because that's First Amendment rights, and Second Amendments are just as important, if not more so, some people would say. Then one enforces the other, And so when you're looking at civil rights, it really is a civil rights issue because you're protecting your constitutional rights. And I think it's a great example. And yes, I do hope that all Americans can freely exercise their constitutional rights. And it shocks me sometimes that some rights are given precedence over others.
Well, if you look also, Mark, and I'm not trying to say anything scandalous about the nature of these rights. All of our rights are equally precious and the same. But if you look at the instances, for instance, of racial discrimination by states and governments against minority populations in the United States, and then you look at, for instance, discrimination against the right to keep and bear arms, there's a lot more work in one of those piles than the other, I think, if we look at even just reported discrimination, forget about actual. So there's plenty of work to do, and gun owners need the help, and of course all Americans need the help, because any of those rights that is comfortably abridged is a lessening of all of them.
And I guess we've just got 20 seconds left of this segment, Scott, so we'll skip the second question briefly. The third question was, does this live beyond Donald Trump's time in the Oval Office?
It'll need, I think, one more president to keep it going. It'll be very easy to cancel it all out if it's the next president that does so. If there's a whole administration in between, well, it becomes a little bit more entrenched. And in this case, it could be entrenched and not to the detriment of Americans' liberty, like so many other offices are, but to their benefit. We'll have to see in time.
Scott Cosenza, thanks very much. We'll see you after this short break.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.